A major rejig may possibly be in store for students of these classes, according to that particular draft by the NCF, which draws heavily from the new national education policy. Board exams twice a year, ending science, arts, or humanities and commerce streams for higher secondary students, and dividing subjects into 8 curricular areas for class 10 students. Now, these are among the major structural changes suggested by the National Curriculum Framework released on Thursday. It also talks about holistic report card and self-assessment for the benefit of the students. It also proposes no exams till class 2 and the introduction of written exams in the next classes. The assessment of students is suggested to go more serious from there onwards. Taking this discussion forward, I'm joined by Professor Vijay Laxmi Singh, who's a senior educationist, and we'll now begin to understand just how your child's schooling may change. A very warm welcome on the broadcast to you, Professor. Professor Vijay Laxmi, first and foremost, give us a sense of how you're reading this new NCF draft that's come out.
Well, a new NCF draft is very pertinent, and it's very important for the students, children in the society, because it emphasizes on the educational development, meaningful educational development, I would say. And we also see there is a pedagogical shift in this draft, which is proposed, and this is not the final one. It is proposed and it is open for discussion, and it gives overall development, picture of overall development in education, and also overall development of personality of the students from age 3 to age 18. So this is a kind of draft draft on education, which will give a Swadeshi perspective also. Swadeshi means it will give perspective on our culture or tradition. I mean, it will inculcate the value and moral perspective in the personality of the students. So overall, we see that earlier the education we had was, I will not say bad, because we have been educated in that system, but that had a foreign perspective, in the sense it was colonial perspective, I would say, and we had impact of colonialist in our education system, and it continued for a very long period. Though there had been, changes in the draft of the school curriculum time to time and periodically, but these changes did not make much impact to become indigenous. So now I feel, as an educationist, that the introduction of a curriculum which is very indigenous, very Indian to us, should be very fruitful.
Well, Professor, I don't disagree with you. I mean, shedding colonial past is a never-ending process. We're going to continue to shed our colonial past, and that is, the point of view. Then, of course, it is welcomed, and so is improvement. Improvement is welcomed as well. But at the same time, do you think this is turning out into a situation where school life for a student, which is supposed to be full of fun and talking it out with your peers, your major friendships are made in this particular period? Do you think we're pushing a lot of examinations, a lot of board exams in this particular time frame? It's more study and no play at all kind of a situation.
Well, we have to see what is in the draft, final draft. It is for discussion now. I know it seems to be loaded, looks loaded, but somehow, I feel that my experience with my son, who was educated in Delhi and was in DPS, earlier he also used to feel loaded, but these Monday class tests were fun also sometimes, that you don't have to mug up and go and do the test to get marks. So sometimes you used to go just like that, just with the classroom teachings. So maybe in this draft, the curriculum, which looks very heavy because of these board exams, because when you say board exams, it becomes, jittery for the students that it is a board exam. But maybe when the final outcome of this draft, maybe there is lighter side of education in these board exams also. Like it says that there are various courses, various subjects you have to choose from, and you have to be interdisciplinary. You have to do science and arts both, arts and mathematics. You have to make your own syllabus. So in this case, what will happen? Sometimes it looks loaded, but it may not be so much loaded. It may be, a general kind of education for the school children, in which they will have overall view of the society. I do not know what will be the final framework of this, but I'm sure this Mr. Kasturi Rangan is an educationist of acclaim, and he knows that children wants to play, children want to have friends, children want to have school education in which they'll have play while you learn. So with this, I feel that it looks loaded because it is a change, and whenever there is a change, one is very scared of the change.
Absolutely, there is
We
resistance to change
feel
everywhere
that
as well.
whatever we
I'll
are
give you a personal example here, Professor. I remember back in the day in class 9th and 10th, the CCA, the cumulative and comprehensive assessment, that did come about. People, students in my batch particularly
Yes,
did not opt for the board examinations and went for the CCA, which was eventually scrapped down. The idea was the same. It was a self-assessment. It was about holistic development of the student. Do you think this is going to go down the same lane? I mean, of course, this is still up for discussion, but do you think this holistic report card and self-assessment is really going to come about and be different from what the CCA was erstwhile?
yeah, I think it is really a nice idea or concept. But you know what happens? The implementation part, it has to be implemented very seriously. You need
Hmm.
teachers who are trained to implement such kind of programs for the students. And if they implement, in a nice way, where the students are interested in, cumulative education, cumulative exams, marks. So in that case, it will be a very good thing. But we need to change not only the perception of the education, the perception of the idea to have cumulative tests for the students, but also we need good teachers. I mean, I do not. I myself am a teacher, and I know that teachers are really very good, but they have to adapt these changes also. Generally, what happens that the
Hmm.
seniors don't
Hmm.
like to adapt the changes. Children are growing, and they will have more adaptability to this. So we need to focus on that teaching part also. Learning is one, but teaching part also we need to focus.
Absolutely. I'm just going to read out a couple of phrases, paragraphs from
Can
this
I
framework.
get my earphone? It is.
Well, absolutely. Well, for the benefit of the viewers out there, I'll read a few paragraphs from the NCF 2023 draft as well. Students will be given increased flexibility and choice of subjects to study, particularly in secondary school, including subjects in physical education, the arts and crafts, and vocational skills, so that they can design their own paths of study and life plans. And there will be no hard separation amongst the curricular, the extracurricular, or the co-curricular, amongst the arts, humanities, and sciences, or between vocational or academic streams. So certainly the student will have to go through a lot. Professor Vijay Laxmi with us on the broadcast has also been talking about how it looks loaded but might not be a similar situation. Professor Vijay Laxmi, do you think when we're trying to balance out assessment versus the actual learning outcomes, this is going to reap dividends, the new framework?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah,
Because
I'm trying to understand what the balance is going to be like between assessment. We're talking about holistic report cards and self-assessment for the benefit of the students, which is what the NCF framework also talks about. But do you think this is actually going to turn into, it is going to pay dividends for the students' life, his or her, their career?
yeah, I think there's nothing wrong about it. I mean, of course, there's a massive change in the perception in these drafts about education. But I think it is experimental also, I would say, because we are introducing so many things which are new to the students, like about the Indian culture, tradition, combination of science and art, and combination of sport and science, and things like that. But I think we should go for this change, because once you want to be competing globally, we need global leaders, we need global students, we need global citizens nowadays, who can not only compete globally, but also who can project the Indianness of the education in the global perspective.